Ever wondered who and what is shaping Luxembourg? This is your Lux Unplugged podcast with your hosts, Adrien and Thierry.
Hi, I'm Adrien.
Hi, I'm Thierry.
Welcome back to another episode of Lux Unplugged.
Currently, we are recording remotely.
Indeed, now that the whole world is in lockdown, talking to colleagues on Zoom or watching Netflix, everyone has to adapt their lifestyle and practice social distancing.
But it doesn't prevent us from recording new episodes. This time around, you're welcoming Françoise Thoma, CEO at Spuerkeess. Can you tell us a little bit more about your experience with Spuerkeess?
Yes, indeed. Spuerkees is known to all Luxembourgers of our generation. We all used to have the flagship savings account with Spuerkees. Don't you remember that one, Thierry?
I do indeed. My grandparents opened it for me. I remember this famous square piggy bank with all my cash savings as a child. Can you tell our listeners what your conversation was about?
Spuerkees has become a major player in the corporate social responsibility field, where they intend to have a growing influence. As you will hear, this is especially relevant now in the current climate with the coronavirus reshaping the whole economy and the role of banks.
And now, without further ado, Adrien's conversation with Françoise Thoma, CEO at Spuerkeess.
Thank you so much for joining us here on Lux Unplugged. Before we tackle the core of the subject, we always like to know a little bit more about our guests. How would you introduce yourself then?
Well, thanks for giving me the opportunity to speak to you on this quite passionate subject. So my name is Françoise Thoma. I'm a Luxembourgish citizen. I studied in Luxembourg, Paris, and in the United States. I'm very enthusiastic and passionate about what I do, and both professionally, so being the CEO and president of Spuerkeess, Luxembourg State and Savings Bank, but also for other things which I do in my private life, be it doing some sports, being with my family and friends. So I think that life is too short to do things which are boring to you, to others. So just do the things you like to do and you will do them well.
I understand you studied law. Can you please explain to our listeners how this discipline has shaped your way of doing things and how this has led you to being the CEO of Spuerkeess?
Well, exactly. So I studied law and also political science, and I started my career as a lawyer at the Luxembourg bar. And what I like in the law is that it's very solution-oriented. So it's actually what you do in your everyday life. You have to cope with problems, and then you have to find a solution which is acceptable not only for yourself but also for the people around you. And actually, that's what business is all about as well. So I would describe myself as a very practically oriented lawyer, and so it became natural for me to join a company, just to practice law from the more practical side on the other side of the law book, I would say. And so I started my career as a legal advisor in Spuerkeess, and then I moved up becoming Secretary General, then member of the Executive Committee, and finally in June 2016, CEO and President of the bank. I think that the law is a curriculum that prepares you pretty well for today's challenges, knowing that whatever the studies you choose at university, your professional life will always be different from what you studied. So whether you studied now economics or law or maybe even something completely different, you have to adapt to the challenges of professional life. And I think it's very important that you have a problem solution oriented mind and a lot of resilience. And that's really what law optimally prepares you for. So, of course, being at the head of a large bank, I have to take into account many other aspects of professional life. There's a lot of, as I said, economic considerations, there's commercial considerations, there is social considerations, human resources are a very important subject. So it's a combination of many things, but I believe that law is a good basis for it.
Now, about your institution, to many Luxembourgers, Spuerkeess is a widely known bank. But for the international community, how would you describe Spuerkeess' core activities?
So Luxembourg State and Savings Bank in Luxembourgish Spuerkeess is the oldest financial institution of the country of Luxembourg. Our bank was established back in 1856. And there is a lot of tradition to rely on, but also to cope with. Of course, tradition also sometimes means legacy, but tradition doesn't mean conservatism. So we are very proud to have that historical background, but it is really for us encouragement to go forward and to be very active into, which is topical today, new technology, digitization, and so on. And I think we come to that later. So we want to be a driving force in change in Luxembourg, but a type of change where we accompany our customers. So we do not push and constrain customers to adopt choices they don't really want. Relying on our tradition, we know that you can bring customers and society along with you if you are a driving force in change. So that's what we do in banking, but we are not only a bank, we are also kind of head of a larger industrial group in Luxembourg, because according to the organic law, we do not have articles of association. We have a law that founds the bank. And there it says really expressly that we are supposed to support the economic and social development of the country, which means that we hold shareholdings in major areas of the Luxembourgish economy and industry. And there we play a social role and also a CSR role even before we did that forever, even before people became acquainted with notions like CSR and sustainability. So we are both a bank, but we are a little bit more than a bank. And we have in our name savings bank, but we are quite different from what you might know as a savings bank in other European countries, because we really operate worldwide also in banking activities. And we are also quite strong in investment funds, in institutional banking and private banking.
I understand Spuerkeess is one of the safest banks in the world. Apart from having a solid shareholder, how would you explain this honourable position then?
Well, as you said, so we do not have shareholders in the plural. We have one owner, that's the Luxembourgish state. And as the Luxembourgish state has a AAA ranking, we fully benefit from that and get a AA plus ranking with the rating agencies. So the first reason, of course, is the strong support by our owner. The second, of course, is also that we are quite prudent and conservative in banking. Not again conservative in the way that we are not innovative, but we are really a stable and very down to earth financial institution. We both in what we do for our own purposes, but also in what we recommend to our clients, and this actually leads all over again that we are ranked among the 10 safest banks in the world, which of course is a recognition for us. But again, it's, I would say, getting a compliment like that, meaning that boredom may be something valuable, it's a nice compliment. Sometimes we get told we are a boring bank, but in today's world, maybe that's a huge compliment.
In today's world, running a bank can be very challenging. You've recently entered into a partnership with ODDO BHF, a major financial services player. To what extent will this agreement ensure that Spuerkeess stays competitive?
Yes, well, as you said, ODDO BHF is actually a French and German bank, so they cover both countries. And as we at Spuerkeess have decided a couple of years ago that we really want to expand our private banking business, our institutional banking business, we wanted to give our customers in that area of banking a new type of opportunity, allowing them to reach out to solutions and products which we don't have in our in-house range of solutions and products. And ODDO BHF is also a bank that has a very long history, almost as long as ours. So they are very traditional, very stable as well, and they really specialize in wealth management, so that we can fully benefit from their expertise, giving our customers access, as I said, to full-fledged solutions and products which we can't offer here in-house. So this is really a win-win situation for them and for us, because their customers, they get access to the Luxembourg market, and our customers get access to the products they develop and they offer. And they are as well, they have a very tradition of high reliability, conservatism in the good sense, and they have a very good track record in their wealth management.
We all know that a negative interest rate environment such as the one we're in today comes at a cost for banks. Now my question to you is, how does Spuerkeess intend to embrace, for example, technology to stay competitive?
You know that Spuerkeess is a systemic bank, so we are directly regulated by the European Central Bank, which of course gives us an additional layer of regulation and also of responsibility. So it's also a good thing because it really enhances governance considerations and other types of considerations you want to respect in order to be really at the top of what you are required to fulfill. Negative interest is one big challenge for banks' profitability, and banks' profitability is also one of the major considerations that the European Central Bank follows up all over Europe. And so technology, in a way, kicks in at the right moment, because digitization, artificial intelligence, and all these tools do allow to rationalize and to decomplexify also. What, of course, is a real challenge, that's the human side to it. So far, and I hope that this will continue, we need a lot of competent people to implement all these new tools and to handle them. And we are really confident that the labor environment will not change in the sense that suddenly like half of the workforce would not be needed anymore. There's a lot of debate about this social issue, social aspect to technology, on reskilling your employees, because, especially in a bank like ours, where people tend to work for a long time, even for their whole career. So it's extremely important to reskill people all the time to keep them competitive with new technologies. New technologies so do allow to rationalize and to decomplexify, but probably not in the sense that you need less people, because if you did not have these new tools, you would need more and more and more people, and that would put a threat to profitability. But keeping the right amount of a competent workforce is, especially in the new technological context, of the utmost importance. And one of the major challenges for a bank today is to recruit and to find the right people out in the market to complete our teams. So skilled people do not need to feel threatened at all by technology. It's rather the opposite. Also, technology allows a very different approach to customers. So it's not only the inner life of the bank, but it's especially a tool for how to communicate with customers. We have the densest physical branch network all over Luxembourg. However, we have noticed that people still go to branch offices, but they want to go there in order to get real added value, not in order to do transactions they can do from home and over the screen. So they do not feel compelled to go out into the street and see the branch office for those purposes. And of course, so what we want to offer the customers in the branch network is really added value, real advice, deep advice, and really try to get all other types of transactions into the digital channels, which also allows us to be reachable for customers very, very longer during the daytime, in the evening, maybe on holidays. So that's, we believe, really an enhanced service for our clients. By the way, be it in the physical persons, also companies, they also prefer more and more to work with the banks that way.
In addition to adopting technology for the benefit of the next generation, another topic that's growing in importance is, of course, corporate social responsibility. How do you see Spuerkeess acting in this field then?
We have in our organic basic law this famous article where we are invited to play a social role in Luxembourg. So corporate social responsibility has been in our genes since the creation of the bank. Of course, this took different forms of development over the years, but when the idea of CSR as such, the notion appeared in the banking world, we were the co-founders of the first CSR platform here in Luxembourg. So that was back in 2006. And since then, of course, things have developed quite a lot. We have implemented development goals over the last years, and we joined the UNEP FI Principles for Responsible Banking in October 2019.
Can you please explain what this program is about?
Yeah, this is a product created by the United Nations to promote responsible finance and responsible banking throughout the world. And so by committing to this program, by signing these principles, you commit to, you can choose from several areas according to your business model, and where you commit to improve your performance in that area. For example, this can be, I'll give you very practical examples. Let's say if you do housing loans, you can say, I will try to improve the real estate I finance, where the energy class of those loans, I try to get to double my energy class A or B housing loans, for example. Or you can say, if you're in an environment where maybe there is gender bias, or where the very few women or very few men can happen as well, in your workforce, you can say we want to really improve diversity within our company by promoting the gender that is less represented, or by hiring people from different groups. You can also choose goals that are more in the pedagogical training area, which especially in finance is also very important for us. We believe that, we noticed that there is a huge need throughout the population to get better information and more training on financial products, so financial education as we call it. So you can choose goals like that. You can also choose goals, for example, having more green or ESG products in your portfolios, either your own in-house portfolios or the portfolios you offer to your clients. So you choose some of these goals, and then you set targets, and you have to implement and reach these targets over a given time, which is from 2 to 4 years. And the UNEP FI organization will challenge you on that, and you have to deliver. So this is really something, it's not you put a signature on a very nice document, you commit to it. And so we did that last October. And just this morning I had an extended meeting with the chair of my CSR committee to see how we really concretely implement that. And our new strategy, which will develop over the next years, will be really led by that, by these considerations of sustainability and CSR. And it's really, for us, it's very important to stress it's not because it's in the air now and it's fashionable to do that. We believe it's a real need to do it, it's a real customer demand to do it. But also there is major economic interest also behind it, because if, according to climate change, you have the whole stranded assets problem, and if some of your customer will just go out of business because they're not sustainable anymore, and you have, for example, large exposures on those clients, then you get into big trouble. So it's a real, very concrete, down-to-earth consideration behind all that.
As you know, Luxembourg is going through a lot of construction works now, with high pressure on housing prices. How do you meet your environmental preservation goals whilst financing the housing market?
Well, Luxembourg is very lucky to have, although having a small territory, large parts of it are forest. So when you come to Luxembourg City, of course, you see only the houses and the buildings, but the whole north of the country and the eastern and western part are largely forest and landscapes. So we have natural reserves in these areas of the country. However, fortunately, our government is very, very preoccupied and keen on preserving the urban equilibrium in Luxembourg. But what they recently did an assessment. There are many areas in Luxembourg where ground that is being labeled as construction ground is still free land. So there are reserves where additional housing can be constructed without tapping into the natural reserves of the country. What of course has to be considered is, what will housing in the future look like? There are more and more now multi-family houses being constructed rather than the one-family house with, like, I don't know how many acres of garden around. So the way people live, of course, also due to the high real estate prices, the square meter per person tends to go down, really, because the units where people live in are smaller, rather apartments and even studios than one-family houses. So the type of real estate being built today is much different from what was built like 20 to 30 years ago. The real estate market in Luxembourg, of course, is very, very expensive, but it's not in that way. It's not in a bubble, or it's not overheated, because there is still a shortage of flats and houses. So every single flat and house that's being built is sold or rented out right away. So because there's a huge pressure on the residential market, you know that about 150,000 or even 200,000 people come into Luxembourg City every morning from the neighboring countries, and they live in the neighboring countries, and they might be also interested in buying real estate in Luxembourg. So there's a huge pressure on the market. There's real need, and again, as I said, fortunately, a responsibility of our government. They are very, very eager to make sure that the natural reserves of the country are being maintained.
What's your elevator pitch to convince anyone to join your company?
We got recurring and iterative rewards for being the best employer in Luxembourg, because what we offer people is really an equilibrated professional and personal life. We have real challenges, both technological challenges, customer challenges. We offer a work climate which is very attractive, and we do the same for our clients. Again, we are not perfect. No one is perfect. We try to improve every day, but we are a small community. We do not depend on mother company abroad, so we can really take our own decisions here. So what is nice about working here is you can get into a responsible position and take real responsibility even as a young person. And the work climate is really conducive to furthering and to improving talent and to attracting people.
That's a fair elevator pitch. I'll definitely consider joining Spuerkeess. Mrs. Thoma, thanks so much for your time. We definitely look forward to having you back on the show in the near future to get further insights into your fascinating projects.
Well, thank you so much for your time, and a warm hello to all those who will listen to this.
Thanks for listening to the LuxUnplugged podcast. Please share this podcast with friends and family and leave us a review on iTunes. Also, please don't forget to visit our website, luxunplugged.com. And see you next time.